I can see the stream going. It's taking forever to load. This is the problem I have with Twitch is that whenever I go live, it takes forever.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, it's fucking horrible. All right. All right. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Danger Boys podcast. Let's go. Just want to get it out the way real fast because I know people are going to be asking, "Where's Mikkel at? Where's what the hell Mikkel?" Won't be joining me tonight. You know, he's a busy man. He's a father, and got a lot of stuff going on, and I have a lot of stuff going on. You guys haven't heard from me in a couple of weeks. One of those reasons was, Christmas time, right? Busy with the family and, my off the internet obligations. But, also I started a new job. I started working a new job. So I was trying to work out that schedule. But as you can tell from the title, I got my good friend Ryan on with me. Ryan, say hello to the people.
hey, what's going on, people? What's going on?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, Ryan is one of my good guys. I play Rainbow Six with him all the time. So if you watch my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Tapper74, if you guys have watched me on there play some R6, you guys know Ryan. He's the guy who's always carrying me. And I just got news from my second guest. Said he's having some technical difficulties, so we're gonna hear from DB in a little bit. But yeah, so me and Ryan right now are just gonna talk about some things. First thing I want to bring up is apparently there's a woman in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, just celebrated her 100th birthday. I don't know what her name is. It wasn't in the article, but shout out to, I'm gonna guess her name's Mary Ann. That's an old lady name, right? Or Gloria. Shout out to her 100th birthday. Apparently a bunch of police cars and fire trucks drove past her house to celebrate. That's nice, dude. I hope I live to see 100 years old.
True, man, true.
If we ever get it through this pandemic. And then other news, much more sad and much more scary news. The Capitol building was rushed by a bunch of angry extremists trying to stop the Joe Biden official announcement that he got elected. I hate the way that America's politics work. Everybody knows who was president like a month ago, but then now they have to we have to vote on it to make sure that it's official and whatnot. I don't know. I understand why we had to do it that way, before technology, but I just don't know, dude. I just feel like I'll pull up an article, give people something to look at. There we go. There's the NPR article. All the Trumpians rushing. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like the way politics are set up in America and how things are run, it's very old school. I don't know. Everything, so it's the way the electoral college works, right? We vote for who we want, and then our politicians decide whether or not it was the right decision. If they wanted to, Congress could just say, yeah, no, we just ignore what the people said and we just want to put in our own guy. They have the power to do that. Now, obviously they never do that because they never get reelected, but I don't know, man. It's just crazy. And then for people to become so passionate that they storm the Capitol building to try and filibuster, what is that, dude? I don't even know.
It's crazy, man. I mean, I don't know what drives people to think that those are, correct actions to take, but obviously they felt that was right, and it's just weird, man. It's crazy, and it's kind of scary, honestly.
It's very scary, dude. It's very scary. And the thing is that, you read the headlines and let's say that I'm a Bidenite. That's what I'm gonna call them. I'm calling the people who like Biden, they're Bidenites, and the people who like Trump, they're Trumpinites. So the Bidenites are all out there oh, look at all the Republicans, right? Look at all the people on the right side. This is how crazy they are. And apparently, I'm trying to hook up some Skyrim music real fast, but apparently we can't play a song over 3 hours, so F's. But yeah, so all the Republicans, or all the Republicans get lumped into this this sort of idea that, oh, they're all extremists, and it's the same thing that happened with the Black Lives Matter protests that happened a few months ago, was that now all the Republicans see the Democrats as, oh, you're all extremists, you're all looters. And look, either way, whatever side of the fence you're on, I think everyone besides the people who went to go march can agree that they were wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to peacefully protest, and this wouldn't be a thing if they did that, but they took it too far. They took it way too far. They hurt, they killed a cop, like, and civilians were killed. You took it too far, and I just think it's unacceptable, man. Like, and I get it, it's a very passionate topic, and I was talking to my brother about this. So, like, apparently Trump is the first president to get more votes the second time around than the first time, and that's like never happened before.
Yeah.
But I tried to explain it to him. It's because, we finally realized, like, a dramatic event like coronavirus is what took to wake people up, young people, old people, people who've never voted before, to realize, hey, I need my voice to be heard through voting. And like, and he tried to like explain it to me that, like, the fact that more people voted for Trump this time around means that more people want Trump. And I said, no, it's that more people voted in general, like that's what it was. Just more voices were heard this time around. And this time around they agreed with Biden. And like, I'm on the left side of the fence, but like, I don't agree with all of Biden's policies. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I just think that, this experiment we had where, let's get a non-politician in office. I don't know. I just feel like it kind of failed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. I think the concept of it was good. I think the execution of it did what kind of didn't fully follow through.
The protest or Trump himself?
The actual presidency, like the getting somebody other than a politician in there. I think it's a good idea. To me, the political system is kind of messed up in its current state.
I agree.
And I think it's just more so like, rather than actually doing good for your people, the people who voted for you, and being the voice of the people, it's more so, okay, these are my beliefs, these are my voice, this is my power.
Mm-hmm.
Either side of the fence. Honestly, I don't think it really matters. But,
right.
But yeah, I think, like I said, I think the concept of it is a good idea to me. Kind of a fresh face in there, but I think it was very poorly executed in this particular case.
I think you're right, because you look back in history, and I the way I said that, it made it sound like this was like the first time it ever happened. It isn't. You look at Ronald Reagan, he was a movie star before he became president, and the Reagan years were very problematic for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it wasn't nearly this bad, and things were, for a group of people, very good,
Oh yeah.
And with this time around with Trump, it hasn't been good. There's I don't think there's a single positive we can kind of take away from Trump's presidency that like trumps all the bad stuff that happened. Like with the Obama years, I think Obama had a lot of flaws and he had a lot of bad policies, but at the same time though, I think net like it at least equaled out, or like the United States is not in a worse place because Obama was president overall, but I just think, like you said, I think this whole, I think Trump was the wrong guy to become president of the United States. I think that, he, like you said, the concept is a good concept, get another voice in there, someone who isn't from the Republicans, someone who isn't from the Democrats. But at the same time though, giving that much power to a person who hasn't been prepared for it, I think is, like, you look back in history at like and obviously the president isn't a king, but if you look at royal families, the firstborn son lived his entire life being trained and taught how to lead. And politicians are kind of in the same way. They're not, it's a choice. They're not forced to do it, but their whole career is spent trying to learn how to become a national leader. And that's why, everyone who runs for president, like, I think it's, 35 or 40? I think it's 35 to be able to run for president, but all the people that do it are all in their like 60s and 70s, because that's how much, minimum life experience you need in order to, be confident enough to think that you can run the country. And like I said, I just think, and Trump does come from that background, being the CEO and president of a billion-dollar corporation is a lot of power. And in some ways, honestly, I think is stronger than the president. Not every way, obviously not the military power, but the ability to, change the economy and jobs and whatnot. A CEO holds a lot of that power. And I think that, a guy who has both, I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't think it equates for a good situation. And
no, I think the diplomatic side of it was always kind of going to be the issue. I mean, CEOs obviously have to deal with a lot of, probably with a lot of that power comes a lot of responsibility diplomatic wise, but situation handling, I think, is much different. And I think that's where a lot of the issues stem from.
Absolutely. And you look at Trump and, any CEO, whether it's Michael Eisner when he ran Disney or, who's the guy in charge of Amazon? What the fuck's his name? Bezos, Jeff Bezos. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whenever they're sitting down at a negotiating table and they're, negotiating with the, Germany, like, hey, Germany, we want to put a Trump Tower in Berlin. It's a situation where you can walk away from it, I guess. Like the stakes are high, but it's not that high. Look, you give us, we'll pay 20% of, extra tax or whatever, in order to get the agreed upon situation. But at the same time, Trump can just walk away and be like, hey, look, Denmark gave us a way better deal on building a tower there. We're going to go build a tower there. When you're the United States government, you can't do that. You can't just be like, Pakistan, you want to sue for peace? Well, I'm just not interested. I'm sorry. I'm going to walk away. It's not the same tactics, and you can't just bully people. I think that, the amount of money that the United States spends on military, I think a lot of people think that gives us like a free pass that we can just kind of do whatever we want. And it just doesn't work like that, Like, we have the bigger military, sure, and like we can bully other countries around, but one, that doesn't make it right, and two, the consequences are so much higher when you try to bully people. I don't know. And going back to the protesters, I guess, to bring this full circle, the idea that you can mob up, break into the Capitol building, and you can try and filibuster, like, it, that doesn't, you can't just do that, like I know that woman who was shot, rest in peace, but like the Secret Service did their job,
Right.
like, I hate getting into the Black Lives Matter discussion and whatnot, because I am white, I can't see it from the black perspective. I mean, I can try to, but to have a 100% understanding where they're coming from, I have no idea. But in my head, a guy running away from a cop and getting shot in the back is different from a woman trying to break in to the Capitol building and trying to get to Mike Pence. Like it's two different, it's two sides of the same coin. It's law enforcement using lethal force in order to kill someone, but I don't think lethal force should be necessary, but it is. Like, if perfect utopia, no one would ever use guns, but we don't live in that utopia. We live in reality, and the reality of the situation is that if you try to attack an elected official, you're going to get killed by Secret Service. And people are trying to make this woman a martyr, and I don't feel that she is, you know. And I understand that if you get pulled over in a car and you have drugs on you or you're driving intoxicated, your punishment is to go to jail. You know, your punishment shouldn't be to be killed. But if you pull a gun or an officer's in a situation where he feels that his life's in danger, the consequences of those actions is that you're going to end up dead. But when you try and hurt an elected official, the punishment is death, regardless of whether or not you actually harm the elected. You know, it's attempted homicide. And when you mess with the Secret Service, you know, they retaliate with full force. And it's just, I don't know, it's a whole crazy situation. And I just don't, like I said, I just hope that the fallout from this is not that, you know, the right is all extremists and the left. You know, I feel like this country is getting more and more divided. And I just feel like, you know, I think people are starting to calm down. That, you know, this is kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people who are like, you know, I'm very strong in my political views. I hope that this is kind of a wake-up call that, like, look, politics are not as important as your life. You know, your beliefs are not worth dying for. You know, I mean, or there's certain beliefs. You know, certain beliefs aren't worth dying for. And I think that this is certainly something that is not worth dying for. And, like, there's so many better ways of going about it than trying to storm the Capitol building. Like, I don't know, man. It's just so crazy.
I don't necessarily remember, like, at the end of Obama's last term, but like, as far as, like, I know there were some, like, not necessarily protests, but they kind of had some, like, you know, showings and like, people, you know, were trying to just spread their message after Trump got elected. Like, boycotting almost kind of did, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
It wasn't like a protest necessarily. It was just kind of like trying to get the word out there and, you know, spread their belief, or not necessarily their belief, but their, you know, their insight into it.
For sure.
But
For
yeah,
sure.
this is something new, I think, at least that I've ever seen.
Absolutely. I just want to give a quick shout out to Tab to Cat. Tab to Cat, how's it going? Yeah, uptime 22 minutes. Yeah, or 16 minutes. Sorry, not 22. But 16 minutes. Yeah, we're just getting into it. This is my friend Ryan. Chatting a little bit about the protests that happened this past week and kind of the fallout from it. And anyone else out there who's watching on the YouTube page, shout out to YouTube, Danger Boys Podcast, youtube.com. You guys want to watch the podcast get recorded live, you know, come say hi, twitch.tv/tapper74. But going back to what you were saying about the exchange of power, right, after Obama left office, it was very, you know...
Hello?
Oh, hold on 1 second. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hey! Well, hey!
How do we sound?
You sound... Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Okay. Can you hear the background noise?
No. Not over
Okay,
not over the Skyrim music.
Okay, awesome. Because we have you coming through the TV, and we're using the microphone and my... But all three of us are here.
Hell yeah. Hey, all right, guys. Hello.
Long time no see.
Swear.
We can turn the mic up a little bit.
No, turn it
Just let us
down.
know.
Yeah, turn that down a little bit. You're coming through.
Well, I got really close.
Okay, all right. Keep yourself kind of further back. All right. So, as I mentioned, we were going to have a second guest on. They were having some technical issues, but they are here now. Say hello to Kayla. Hi, Kayla. Say hi.
Hi, Tab and Ryan and crowd.
Do you want this?
Hello. Hey, and then my other friend, DB. DB, you want to say hi? You want to be Darius? DB, what do you want me to call you?
Whatever you want to call me.
Okay, and then we got a third guest, Melvin. You there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Hello, hello. All right, we got a full crew tonight. So, quick introduction. So, if you guys don't know who DB is, he's another person, Darius. Me and him, Ryan, we play Rainbow Six together again on my Twitch stream. And then Kayla is Darius's girlfriend, wonderful person. And then Melvin is a guy who used to play hockey with my friend. Yeah, my friend Connor and him played a lot of hockey together. So yeah, they're going to be joining the discussion. I was actually talking to Melvin before we started podcasting. We were talking about the whole Capitol Hill situation and the people that were raiding. We were, kind of finishing up with that discussion, but we can get back into it, see another perspective. We were talking about how one, it wasn't right from either side of the fence, and how in past elections where presidents have taken office, there wasn't this extreme hatred of the guy coming in or the guy leaving. It was a very peaceful exchange. Okay, Obama is done, Trump's coming in, Bush is done, Obama's coming in. It was a very seamless, almost seamless transition. And this violence that we're seeing, this extremeness that's coming out of this new election year is it's scary to see, but it's also very unprecedented, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's kind of like steering in the direction of almost, in terms of the transfers of power, it looks like dictatorships. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
The kind of unrest and the kind of things that happens are when people are taking over by force. Yeah, and you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a diplomatic process.
You would expect to see this kind of reaction from a South American government or a
Third world country.
or a third world country, exactly, Kayla, like a Pakistan or Iraq, where there's one dictatorship and then an extremist group takes over, and again, I don't think it's precedented, especially in a democracy like the United States. And I just want to say real fast, shout out to Tabdicat and Sir Knight. They were playing the Force together, and that's awesome, Tabdicat. Yeah, I did say I was going to do a podcast, and I'm glad you're checking in. But yeah, and like I said, for a democracy that has a history of very peaceful exchanges of power, is not it's unprecedented. This has never happened before. And it's like I said, it's scary. It really is scary.
I think the pandemic has something to do with that.
I agree. I think that Trump as a president. So me and Ryan were talking about this a little bit before, and we're gonna go back over it to bring you guys up to speed. That the experiment of let's have a non-elected official didn't go great, but it's not a bad idea, right? To get a non-politician into the presidency, someone who isn't a politician. Because we brought up Ronald Reagan, who he was a movie star before he became a politician, and it went very well for Reagan when he was president. It wasn't great for a lot of people, but in another sense it was.
Quick shout out to Ronald Reagan, who was in Cold War.
Shout out to Ronald Reagan, who was in fact in Cold War, but there wasn't this extremacy, and that was during the Vietnam War. There were people marching on the streets of Washington D.C. Hippie movement, the Woodstock. The most vocal generation we've had until I think this generation we're in right now, and even then it was all peaceful. And this violent extremism, like I said, it's unprecedented. It doesn't happen. And here we are in 2021, and it's happening.
In my personal opinion, like not to interrupt anyone, is that this presidency was a lot more like extreme and very, very, very strongly opinionated. And he had, of course, any president has like a lot of say, and their words can affect people in different ways. But this presidency, not to like say anything like I hope like to hurt anyone's feelings, but
no, go ahead.
It was very, very opinionated and very dividing.
For sure. Trump
and a lot of substance.
Yes. Trump and he invokes a lot of passion in people, whether it is positive for Trump or negative against Trump. A lot of people are very passionate about what he has to say. Sir Knight says, well, some of the stuff back then was peaceful, but things to get out of hand too. Soldiers coming home was spat on them, had rocks on them. Absolutely, Sir Knight. There were, non-peaceful protests. There were violent actions. I think back to the bus in Georgia that was burned. you know, the black peaceful protesters were attacked, and their bus was burned, and you know it was horrible. And in the during the civil rights movement, you know, there was fire trucks and dogs set on people. It was awful, but no one broke into the White House, you know, no one broke into Capitol Hill, you know, so like it, you know, as much as the past was sort of extreme, it not to this measure, you know.
At least we did it before any other country could.
That's something else too, you know. And look, this is going to be a great story to tell our kids. You know, oh, I remember back in 2021, whenever the Capitol building was. Yeah, exactly. You know, we're going to be the coronavirus generation. We're going to be the generation that survived it. Exactly.
And Fortnite and Minecraft.
Less notable, but still just as effective. You know, the effect on the American people. But yeah, and I don't know. I feel like. I miss Obama because of, I don't know, his calming presence. I don't know. He just had like a guy I wanted to drink beer with sort of attitude. And I know people feel that way about Trump, but I've never felt that way about Trump. You know, I've always seen him as...
No, me neither. I feel like we'd have terrible conversation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right. Whereas like...
it would be revolved around him.
Yeah.
Like
Just
patronizing him. Like, oh, Grandmaster Trump, I love you so much. I'll kiss your feet.
For sure. And like I said, I'm not 100% Biden either. You know, I don't agree with all of his policies. I don't like Nancy Pelosi. You know, I don't like these policies that they're going to be bringing in. Like, you know, I'm a very pro marijuana person, you know, medical marijuana, but even recreational marijuana, I believe everyone should be able to purchase and smoke weed without being persecuted. I think that, you know, alcohol bans and whatnot, like there should be no restrictions on that stuff. And I think in this new regime, we're going to find more, you know, there's going to be restrictions, if not more restrictions. And, you know, the left side of the fence tends to be sided with you know, marijuana. And I don't think that this new regime is necessarily going to help that. Tabdicat says, if Black Lives Matter hurt people, I think it would breed hate towards black people. I think the hurt would, those black people. Yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. And I think that that's something I said earlier too, Tabdicat, when I was talking with Ryan about this, is that there's so many people walking away from this that thinking that if you're a Republican, you're a extremist. You know, you're someone who's on the extreme side. You 100% support and love Trump. And if you're on the left side, you're 100% Biden. You know, it these news headlines hurt everyone. You know, it hurts all of the Republicans. It hurts all of the Democrats. And it's you know, it's not a good situation. I know that's stating the obvious, but still.
You know, the weird thing about this is this was for the fact that they stormed the building. It was still there were less casualties in this event than there was for the Black Lives Matter protest there. Like, you think about that, that's kind of like the craziest thing. Like, they actually walked into the building and like defamated property of the United States government,
and there was less death.
Yeah,
violated Trump's new, you know, Monuments Act.
Not even like a Target, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I don't think these people realize, like, this is coming out of the taxpayer dollar to fix this shit. Like, we're gonna be the ones paying for it anyways.
Or it's just, you know, irreplaceable pieces of history that you just can't.
Mm-hmm. And with that too, Ryan, I think the reason why there was more deaths in the Black Lives Matter protests that took place in Capitol. No, I don't have that cited. I don't have the numbers in front of me. So I'm gonna, you know, I trust Ryan. I'm gonna let you know that, you know, everybody out there listening, I trust Ryan and I trust what he says. I think the reason because of that was that there were more people for the Black Lives Matter, you know, I don't know how many
in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There were more people.
This is one day for how many hours, but that went on for literally weeks. And months, actually, in some states. So I think it's a little bit hard to compare. Like, if you're comparing one major protest of the Black Lives Matter, but it's not really a good comparison when there's multiple in multiple cities in multiple states.
I agree with that. It's just because they were standing outside, they were standing in the same place. They had Capitol Police standing at the steps. And once again, there was still, I think there were like 4 or 5 outside of the Capitol building that were actually shot where they stood, compared to what there were 2 casualties, and one of them was a police officer in this. I think that's it. Maybe they were.
No, there was
Are those
actually
5 dead?
there was 4 from what I've heard, possibly 5, like Darius said. And the sad thing about this is this wasn't. No one died in this protest from police violence, like in the Black Lives Matter. These were MAGA people against MAGA people, except for the Secret Service that did have to shoot that
The
woman
woman,
that was
yeah.
going through the window. But she
Yes,
had been
yeah.
warned, and she literally said she will not back down. So
Right.
not to excuse that, but it wasn't
No.
a violent cop against people. They were being people against the cops, and yeah, there was a lot of pushing and shoving and a lot of chaos, but the cops literally let these people in to protest and use their right to protest outside of the building, and it got carried away. They were
And-
climbing it, they were going in windows, they were in there breaking in, destroying things. Just awful, really sad.
I just want to quickly, so I do have, like I said, I am live on Twitch when we're recording this, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Phantom Painkiller 109, rated me with 4 viewers. What a man. Thank you so much, Phantom. I appreciate that raid. And then a viewer of mine, Sir Knight, says that I personally like Trump's ideology when he started out towards multiple things, but not his actions. And Joe Biden worries me with some of his comments about gun control and his remarks about coming off as cocky. I can't speak to him coming off as cocky, but I am a little concerned about, his gun control laws. I think that there needs to be some gun control in this country. Not everyone should be allowed to buy an AR. But at the same time, though, and I know Darius can speak to this, and I know Kayla can as well, because her family hunts. I do have a beer here, DB, and I'm gonna need a new one here in a second. But I want to finish up with this thought. That you should be able to go out and buy ammo for your gun. Your hunting rifle. You should have no problem getting that. You should have no problem buying a hunting rifle. You should have no problem buying a Glock or any other kind of pistol for self-defense. I don't believe that should have as much regulation as it does. And
Yeah.
And there's, with background checks on buying legal weapons, there's an arbitrary time. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast a little while ago, and I don't agree with a lot of things that Joe Rogan says, but he did make this comment that, the way that the internet moves and like how fast it is to get information, that a gun clearance check to see if someone has a felony or not should only take no more than an hour, to make sure that you check it, double check it, and then you should be able to buy a gun right there. There's waiting lists and whatnot, and especially with the new Biden the new Biden, yes, is that it's going to be much harder for people, good Americans who want to hunt, they want to protect themselves, are not going to be able to get weapons because of the new regulations, and I don't agree with that necessarily.
All I'm saying though
Mhm.
is like you don't need an AR to defend your home. Actually, all you need is a shotgun.
Right.
But if you really want to break down to it, as shitty as they are, you can spend $150 for a high point pistol, which you can shoot. You can literally shoot it with a gun and it will still shoot. You can throw it in the shit, it will still shoot. Or like, if you want to go further, you can get a one-shot cylinder 9mm for $100. You know what I mean? And like, those are just as good, if not better, defense weapons than an AR-15.
Absolutely. And whenever you're inside, like, you say, oh, you need more stopping power, you need more rounds of ammo. No, go to the range, get good with that pistol, learn how to reload it quickly, learn how to aim down sights, find your target quickly, and fire off shots quick. Learn how to get good with that, and you won't need a bigger rifle. You won't need
Unless
an
your
AR.
home is a warehouse.
Right.
For home defense, an AR is kind of like not very effective.
Or even like a shotgun,
I mean,
how many
it's
pellets you
effective, I
put.
guess, but not
Right.
efficient.
Or you live in a third world country where, there's militants coming to your night every night with AK-47s trying to steal your family. Those are different situations. And people want to, live in this idealized, America that we still live in Revolutionary War times and that we have to defend our country from ourselves. We don't have to, like that's why we have national police. That's why we have the National Guard. That's why we have police officers, is because they do that for us. Now, they're not there 24/7, and there are some bad police out there, but there's way more good cops than bad cops. And I think that there's not enough people out there who put their faith in police to be able to do a good job. And I understand why, because a cop makes a bad decision. They kill a person when they didn't need to be, and then the label gets put on all cops that they're all bad people. But that's just not the case. And Sir Knight pops up with, my mom was just getting into permits done, which could be done online now. You apply to send them a sheet info, you take it to the place you're done. By the time you get on, you cause it in 1 week when you're sick. Papers and money, oh, it was fucked up. Oh, that sucks. But that is nice. You can get your gun permits online. You don't actually have to go to and I don't know, is it different from state to state? Is that how gun laws work? Or different from state to state?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from what I'm aware. And it depends on, Pennsylvania's like a really big hunting state. So there are, from what I
We're
understand,
pretty gun friendly.
yeah, more so than say down in Florida, where people hunt for things, but don't white-tailed deer, not the same things we hunt
But
for.
in Florida, it's weird. They're tighter on some things and looser on some. Like in PA, you can't have a medical card and a concealed carry permit. In Florida, you can. You can have both.
Really?
You can get medical weed from a dispensary and have your
Have a
gun,
gun.
which I agree with. 'Cause
I agree
you don't
too.
lose your med card. You don't
Yeah.
lose your gun license for taking oxycodone, for taking Xanax.
Like you've been
they don't-
drinking.
Yeah, they don't take away your gun because you drink or you do any other drug, prescription drugs. Even though
For
they're
sure.
narcotic.
And
Just
it's
like you can get a green card in PA, but technically, if your employer still has a drug policy, even though you have
They
a
can
green
fire
card,
you.
they'll fire you. Especially if you have a job where you're driving, or in the kind of field that I do in-home care services. So they would fire me because I had a green card.
Mhm.
And that's so wrong. I understand why, if you're a heavy machine operator, if you drive a crane, you can't be showing up, high at work. But it's not high, it's that I took my medication. But, you find a different position within the field that, hey, look, we're not going to fire you. We're just going to reposition you, and I know that's a lot of work, and it's a lot of,
Gotta accommodate.
right.
Yeah, but I
you
feel
have
it's-
to.
I don't think we can excuse this, Todd, because I feel that if we would spend a little bit more time, and I'm sure it's out there, we test that can test when you did, say, not necessarily when exactly you did pot, but a test that can tell exactly how much is in you. So that, say, if you do have a job where you're this crane lifter and you get high on the weekends and you go to work Monday and you don't smoke weed from Monday through Friday because you don't get high before you go to work. But say your job wants to test you anyways, if they can find a science that they can test and say, okay, this guy hasn't had pot in his system for 12 hours, he's clear to work, he can't be affected by this weed.
Absolutely. And that's something else too, is that there's a myth out there that if you smoke weed for the next 48 hours, you're impaired. It works the exact same way as drinking. So for my job, I drive a lot, and I'm drinking beer right now. But on Monday, I'm not going to be drunk. The beer passes through, the alcohol passes through my system. I sober, and then I'm allowed to drive. And with marijuana, you're not high 48 hours after you smoke, but you still have the
Not even high 10
toxins.
minutes after I smoke
Right,
sometimes.
right. When your tolerance is high enough, but whenever you do a blood test, it's going to say that you have THC in your system, and it's just not the case. It's like, yeah, I do have THC in my system, but it's no longer affecting me. I don't. There's a radio ad
It's like, yes, I did THC, but no, it's not.
making me high. Like I'm
I
not.
didn't wake up this morning before work and rip the bong. I did it yesterday
Today.
when it
Which
was
makes a big
noon.
difference.
And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it was like after, I come home from work after working a long day. I like to unwind with a beer. I like to smoke a joint. I go to bed, I wake up, and I'm sober, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's really, a very tough situation where, there's been this stigma against weed for so many years. There's been so many propaganda ads and weed kills, it's a gateway drug, and we have to try and change. I was going to use the word fight, but we don't need to fight it. We need to, just kind of open up people's eyes. Exactly. Embrace it. Embrace that. Go ahead, Ryan. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. What do you got to say?
Yeah, I was just on the topic of this, to give an example, like my work doesn't do drug testing. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. If you're visibly intoxicated, whether you be high or you be drunk, or they smell it on you, or they see you with it, then they'll excuse you off the job. But they view it the same way as like you were saying. They view like alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
What you do at home, what you do on your own time, is not their problem.
Mm-hmm.
Until you start doing it on their time, where it becomes their liability, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
I think that's how it all should be.
It really should. It really should. Shout out to Moab Chat 13, just popped up in chat, says Wisebot has feelings. Wisebot does not have feelings.
What's popping?
You got a beer?
I do.
All right.
So
just making sure everybody out there that's legally allowed to drink, make sure you have a beer right now.
Speaking of that topic, I'm actually out. I don't know. I'm gonna hand over the controls here to Ryan because he was here first. Ryan, do you have a point you want to make right now? Something you want to just say about anything we've talked about in the last 30 minutes, whether it's Trump related, whether it's weed, whether it's we'll get into the NFL talk. We're gonna get there. But yeah, if you have something you want to say, go ahead, let it fly, and then give me like a 30-second synopsis when I get back. I should only be about a minute.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to see something. Me and Tap talked about this, and I kind of want to get you guys' opinion on it too. We had said, and he actually brought it partially up about having a non-political person in office and president. I told him I think this was a kind of an experiment that went bad. I kind of like the idea of it. I think we kind of need a refresh button because no matter what happens from here, I think it's so far split down between the two parties. Something I was kind of curious about was I don't know if you guys think it's necessarily the people in there, or if it's a party issue.
I think it's the individual person. Just because we tried it once, I feel doesn't mean, and just because, in my opinion, just because someone isn't political doesn't mean that they're not going to be a good president.
Right.
But the problem is that we tried it. I think not that I hate Donald Trump, but I just don't think this time
the execution didn't go well. Yeah, the execution. Yeah. I think the one thing that was a disconnect was the fact that he didn't listen a lot to the people who knew what they were talking about, as far as the diplomatics of it.
And the virus, especially, like seeing, that there were doctors in our country, like Dr. Fauci, for instance. Just from what I've seen, he had very strong opinions, and it wasn't just Dr. Fauci, it was a lot of doctors, and watching time and time again, it being recommended by an entire team of task force people to just lock down the country or to stop this before it got, as far out of hand as it did. It's just frustrating. And I think a lot of people like the idea of not having a political person in office because they don't think that a non-political person or experienced with politics, they'll be less corrupted. I think the opposite happened in our scenario. I think we wanted the outcome of maybe someone that's not as politically corrupted and easily swayable, perhaps one way or another. And I don't think that outcome exactly came out the way we wanted it to.
Because he's swayable by money. He's very vulnerable to any influence
big businesses
that involves personal gain over him.
Yeah.
The idea of an outsider is good, and I think it's healing with such a polarized system that we have right now with the far left and the far right.
Right.
And healing back to like a more centric and reasonable place. But I agree with what Kayla said. I don't think Donald Trump was the guy, and it's hard to just not be a politician and just suddenly go and be president. There's a reason, I can respect Joe Biden in the sense that he's been a career politician. He's been doing this his whole life, which means like you're a lifetime negotiator, and then that's what you basically do, like a lawyer or a judge you're a mediator. This great thing, this big life that we all, and this huge country we all live in, is all subject to how we cohabitate, you know, how we live in it with each other.
Certainly, and if I can jump in here real fast, I brought this point up whenever me and Ryan were talking, and I'm sorry for anyone who's listening to the podcast here, hearing us talk about the same thing, but, you know, I'm glad we got more voices in here, and I'm really glad we're doing this, and I'm having a ton of fun, guys. This is a great discussion. But to bring up what you were saying, Melvin, about the you know, career politicians, they're lead negotiators. You know, they've been not raised, but since they've entered their careers, they've you know, grown to you know what, you know, how to negotiate and whatnot. If you look back at the past at royal families, the firstborn son was raised to become a leader. You know, that he was going to become king. He's taught everything that needs to be king. And these career politicians are the exact same way. You know, they learn how to talk like a politician, how to lead a nation. And Trump was the exact same way, but in a different, like in the exact same philosophy, but taught a different way. So whenever Trump is negotiating with someone, you know, the stakes are much lower. For his company, for his employees, the stakes are obviously very high, but you know, it affects way less people than when you're talking to countries. And I think that, again, I heard the point brought up that, you know, the career politician, you know, it's nice to get a different voice every once in a while, but I just think that, you know, Trump might have been the wrong person. But he's such a polarizing figure. You know, you look at how he got into office, it was because he's such a forceful personality that people really gravitate to what he has to say, whether it's negative or positive. And, yeah,
you can't ignore him, even if you're just entertained by him.
Absolutely. You cannot ignore him, and I absolutely love that. So, I think that was some great discussion. That was wonderful discussion. I love that so much. But I want to move on to a little NFL talk here. But first, Tommy Lasorda, he was a manager for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Hall of Famer, great career, great guy. That's what I've heard from everyone I've heard talk about who knew Tommy Lasorda. Just said he was an amazing person. Passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 93. So, R.I.P. Tommy Lasorda. And then in other news,
Get a nice job going for Tommy Lasorda.
For sure. Anybody out there, like DB said, anyone who's allowed to drink ahead. Pour a little out for Tommy Lasorda. And then other news, the Cleveland Browns of the National Football League finally make the playoffs after 20 years. Man, hey, quick round of applause for the Cleveland Browns making it into the playoffs. Never giving up.
A for effort. Fans, congratulations! You'll finally see in your lifetime your team in the playoffs. Not Super Bowl most likely, but the playoffs.
We got a lot of super, like, nice iconic moments right now. Right now, what's going on between the Washington football team and the Buccaneers? It's the first playoff game with two female coaches on both sides. They're not head coaches, but you got two female coaches on both sides. Also, shout out to the Washington football team's head coach getting into the playoffs with a record below 500. What a shit division that is.
Swear that division is absolutely awful. But also, like, quick, you know, just aside, actually, for the Washington head coach, man had cancer. You know, he has cancer, and he helped lead his team into the playoffs. Again, beat out a very weak field, but still, it can't be denied that the man has done some pretty good things with a pretty crappy organization. Sir Knight pops up with that. I don't know anything or anyone. I know nothing about this stuff. Not into men playing with balls. Well, Sir Knight, I am. I love men playing with balls. Earlier today, so today is the 9th of January, the Bills played the Colts. The Bills won their football game. It was a very close game. It came down to the wire. I think it was like 14 seconds left in the game. It was a very close competitive game, and the Bills move on to the second round. Again, you were saying, DB, that the Washington was playing right now?
Yep. Yeah, they're playing against the
Tampa Bay
Buccaneers.
And earlier,
28-23 with 4 minutes left.
Who's in the lead?
The Buccaneers having the ball.
Buccaneers, are they leading?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
And then also today, the Seattle Seahawks lost. Russell Wilson got knocked out of the playoffs. He's been a guy in the NFL for a very long time. Russell Wilson is. You have to respect Russell Wilson. Whether or not you like the Seattle Seahawks, you have to respect what he was able to do, and how long he's been able to do it. I think he still has some good years left, but when you have a running quarterback like Russell Wilson, you know, he's a quarterback that can run. He's not a running quarterback. He's not like, you know, Robert Griffin III. But you take a lot of abuse as one of those guys, and it doesn't stem for a long career. But what he's been able to do in Seattle has been really good.
Yeah. That was a crazy game. I mean, the Rams started the game with a backup. He got hurt in the first drive. Their starter came back in. I mean, they didn't throw the ball. I think he only had 150 yards passing.
Jesus, didn't I
They
heard?
ran the ball great. They ran the ball fantastic. That was their saving grace, honestly.
Do they still have Todd Gurley running?
No, it's the Rams. Actually, they have a rookie out of Florida State, I believe, and they have a guy who kind of bounced around a couple teams, but they did do it by committee.
Okay.
They do, some design quarterback runs, and this running back, that running back. But Cam Akers had a 100-yard game today.
Okay, all right, Cam. See you.
Aaron Donald had 2 sacks in the first quarter. Russell Wilson threw a pick 6. That was
That's
it was
brutal.
just a tough day for Seattle.
For sure. And whenever, Russell Wilson is a very good quarterback, but let's be honest, that Legion of Boom defense that he had in Marshawn Lynch definitely helped him out a lot. I think Russell Wilson is an elite quarterback, but I don't know if I can put him in the same category as Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or, Peyton Manning. I just don't think Russell Wilson is there. He's a great athlete, don't get me wrong, but as far as being able to completely take over games, I don't think Russell Wilson really has that. And in the first 5 games of the season, he kind of did, but I'm not too sure. And I don't know a lot about the NFC. Do you know who they might play next?
They're looking down the barrel at Green Bay.
Oh, F.
Because they were the 6th seed coming into it, so
Oh, my.
currently their only hope of playing anybody different would be if the Bears beat the Saints tomorrow night.
Like, that's going to happen. Well, I don't know. Drew Brees is hurt. He does not have everything that he normally has. Drew Brees is I think this might be his last game. Drew Brees is, if they win, then Drew Brees will obviously go on, but I think this might be his last postseason. And actually, that was my next point. I have a notepad open up here with a few conversation topics, and I just have Aaron Rodgers versus the whole NFC. So, hey, good for the Rams. Moved to LA. They're starting to get a foothold. A bit of a fan base going. Making the playoffs is a big deal, to be honest with you. It helps the fan base. It helps the team become established. I'm happy for him. I just don't think that Jared Goff is a great quarterback. I don't think that, and I know he just had thumb surgery like 12 days ago, but I just don't think Jared Goff is a great quarterback. And that's, of course, coming from me, sitting in my chair. I can't throw a football like him, but I think that in, the span of the whole, when you look at every quarterback in the NFL, I don't put Jared Goff in the top, 50%. He's definitely, a 25, 26 ranked quarterback. Tabdacat says, I feel like an idiot for not understanding the things you guys are talking about. Tabdacat, don't feel like an idiot. That's okay. Not everybody watches the NFL. It's just that we do, and we're going to talk about what we like.
Hey,
So
I
I
don't
apologize.
understand either, Taddy Cat. So air high five to you, because I'm just as lost as you are.
I swear, I heard in the background somewhere whispering, someone was like, who's Jared Goff? I heard that.
Oh no,
That wasn't me.
it was about the beers that we have going. We have a twist off bottle cap.
Hey,
Did it
let's
all.
go. Let's go.
Yeah,
And-
Melvin just bit off a twist off cap with his fucking tooth.
I didn't-
swear, I'm sorry.
I didn't think it was a twist off. I pulled on it and it didn't move. So I just bit it off.
That's hilarious. I love it.
They're twist offs, just so you know. Jack Daniels wine coolers, twist off.
No free ads. I don't know who that company is. Maybe if they paid me a little bit of money, maybe I would just shout them out. But until that moment,
Jack who?
Jack who?
Yeah.
So that's a little NFC talk. Let's talk about the AFC. So there's, if people who don't know, in the NFL, there's 2 divisions. You have the NFC and you have the AFC. So there's some teams in the NFC and there's some teams in the NFC. So or in the AFC.
Why?
So it just makes it easier for, controlling who plays who and then how the playoffs work. So in hockey or baseball, hockey, you play 82 games, not this year, but in a normal no non-COVID year, you play 82 games, so it's much easier to play everybody at least once. In Major League Baseball, there's 162 games, so it's very easy to play everybody once. But in the NFL, you only have 16 games, so in order to make sure that the games actually have more meaning, you play teams much less. You play teams in your own division more than you play teams in other divisions. It's just a way of, sorting and categorizing people. But so going back to the AFC, which the Steelers play in, the Ravens play in, the Titans play in. Let's talk a little Ravens-Titans. So the Titans are a bad football team with a great running back, in my opinion. They have an okay defense, but outside of Derrick Henry, I don't think they have a lot to offer.
Man. AJ Brown, second year in the league, wide receiver, explosive player. He's had a really good year.
Smith.
Johnny Smith, up and down tight end. Corey Davis, they drafted him like 8th overall as a wide receiver, up and down career. And I think Ryan Tannehill is, once again, like you were saying about Goff, I think he's kind of like a mid-tier quarterback. Okay. Limits his mistakes was the biggest thing. But yeah, Derrick Henry and that offensive line. That's always the story. That's 2K, King Henry. That's basically why they are where they are. And their defense is good. Yeah, I think their back four, their cornerbacks and the safeties and stuff, the guys who are in pass coverage, I think they're a top 5 pass coverage team as far as talent on the back end. Okay. The 3 corners are good and their safeties are also good, so that's my opinion. Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. They think they have a good defense. So, but of course you're going up against the Ravens now with Titans. You kind of, like you said, they kind of got King Henry, and they have some other players, but their feature player, their number one player,
a mediocre offense.
Got some.
And they have great receivers and stuff, like Johnny Smith, that AB or AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. They're not too bad of a team. Like their quarterback isn't he's not like Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, but he's a mediocre quarterback, and when you have a line, you can rely on a run more so than just relying on passing. It really opens stuff up, especially when you have such a threat in the backfield like Derrick Henry.
Certainly, but they're going up against a very tough team. They're going up against the Ravens, who have been stricken all this year with nothing but COVID issues. It's very rare that you would watch a Ravens game and see a full starting squad because guys would be out with COVID and whatnot. So, but with the Ravens, you got Lamar Jackson back there, a guy who is a running threat. And then they have, I heard some people talking about, what's his name? Marquise Brown is Antonio Brown's cousin. He plays for the Ravens, and he has been, slightly lackluster. He has been putting up, AB numbers, which I think it's unfair to Marquise to, compare him to AB. Because AB is such a generational talent. I don't like him, but you have to, respect what he can do on the football field. So I think comparing, just because they have the same last name doesn't mean that they're the same player, but still the rest of the Ravens team, I think, I hope the Titans win because I hate the Ravens, but I think that the Ravens are going to steamroll the Titans. I don't see it happening any other way. What do you guys think?
I think if Tennessee can control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, they establish a run game. I honestly, this Titans team to me is kind of like the non-Super Bowl winning years for the Patriots up until this year. They fit the scheme very well. They have one dynamic game changer on the offensive side of the football, and I think they fit the scheme. They run the ball, play action pass, run the ball, play action pass. And as long as they run, they run well, they win the game. That's been their formula.
I think that this is a game where the Titans go as Derrick Henry goes. If Derrick Henry has a great game, then the Titans are going to win. And then with the Ravens side of the ball, if Lamar Jackson has a great game, then the Ravens are going to win. You know, if you can stop Derrick Henry, you beat the Titans. If you can stop Lamar Jackson, you can you can beat the Ravens. And I think that it's going to create a very interesting matchup. I think it's going to be a very high-flying, high-scoring game. But if it isn't, it's going to be one of the lowest-scoring, most intense games. You know, it's going to be 6-0 or 6-3 going into halftime, and it's going to be it's going to be field goal central. You know, if Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson can't get things going, which is, if you're the Ravens, you gotta love that, because they have Justin Tucker, one of the best kickers in the history of the NFL on your team. So I just don't see how I can give the edge to the Titans. I really can't. Other than like you said, they have good players. Certainly, you don't make the playoffs without having good players. But I just think that in a lot of ways, the Ravens have the advantage over the Titans. And then obviously the game that we all know about, because we're all Pittsburgh players, or Pittsburgh locals, we're all Pittsburgh fans. Steelers versus the Browns. Again, Browns made the playoffs for the first time in 20 years, and last week they played the Steelers, where the Steelers started their backup quarterback. They started a lot of their backups on defense, and the Steelers almost won. So with the Browns, who are starting, against the, last week, they started most of their starting players. They had their head coach, and they barely won the game. Now they're going into this week, first playoff game in 20 years. They don't have their head coach. They don't have a lot of their, secondary coaches. I don't know which ones exactly they don't have, because NFL teams don't have to release which coaches. They do have to release players, but not coaches. So I don't know which coaches exactly aren't going to be there. But look, you lose one coach, whether it's the offensive coordinator or the defensive line coach. Either way, you want your full team of coaches there, and they're missing some players too. Steelers, same sort of deal, less severe, obviously. So Joe Hayden, who has been one of the best cornerbacks, or safeties, cornerbacks the Steelers have had in a while, since I think Ike Taylor. He's out with COVID, which I think actually helps the Steelers more than it hurts, because if we're able to beat the Browns this week, which again I think we're gonna do, you have Joe Hayden coming back off of COVID after having almost 3 weeks off, of not playing. And he's been in the league for, I think, 14 years. So it's not like he's, he needs practice or anything like that. So I think having Joe Hayden come back fully healthy, fully, healed. Ben Roethlisberger, again, he's sort of the same situation. He's coming back well rested. I think this is going to be an absolute shit kicking of the Browns. Does anybody see it happening any way different? Is there any way that the Browns can win this game?
If the Steelers
They can win the game. Go ahead, Ryan.
If the Steelers play like they did against Washington, they're losing this game. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that Washington's defense is better than the Browns' defense, or do you think it's the other way around?
The Browns' defense lacks. I mean, they have a slight edge, I think, on the backside. I mean, Denzel Ward isn't playing, which hurts. That's their star corner. That's their, throw them out there one-on-one against anybody. That's their top guy. But both their safeties are playing. They're both very good. Their linebackers are a little bit better in coverage than the Redskins linebackers are. The Redskins just get after the quarterback. So if they let the Browns get after the quarterback with, I think, a better secondary, then I think they could lose this game.
Okay. And obviously, we know as Steelers fans that there's two different types of Ben. There is the Ben Roethlisberger who throws for 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And there's also the Ben that throws 5 interceptions, throws for 200 yards, and gets absolutely nothing done on offense. So I think that the only way the Steelers can lose this game is if Bad Ben comes out, and I just don't see Bad Ben, 1, coming off of rest, 2, going up against the Browns at home in Steelers Stadium at Heinz Field. I don't see him coming off, as bad. And 3, I think that with James Conner back, I think we can actually get a successful running chance. I know DB Darius, you wanted to say a few things on the Steelers Browns game coming up.
Oh, I think the Browns can beat us, but like I don't see it happening this game.
Okay, but you think in the future, the Browns are a serious threat?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it depends on like what Nick Chubb does next year, but I don't. I mean, look how close it was last week with what we had in. I mean, we still had, or no, we had Mason Rudolph in.
But we still had our wide receiver core: Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson. All these guys played in that game, right? We
didn't have our defense core.
We didn't have. You're right. We didn't have JJ playing. We didn't have our TJ. We didn't have Cam Hayward playing, which is huge. And we were still able to get to Baker Mayfield. Do you think that Baker Mayfield can be an elite quarterback? Do you think that he is a franchise QB? Do you think he's in the same caliber as Ben Roethlisberger? Baker Mayfield is?
No. No. I think he's one of those guys that could be a starter.
For the Browns, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's.
I mean,
look, he's the type of guy. He's like he's one of those guys that'll start all his career for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not a generational talent. No.
Okay. Do you feel that you have to be a generational talent to be a franchise QB? Do you think that's one and the same?
No, because you look at Mahomes. He's Mahomes and Rodgers. They're generational talents.
Mm-hmm.
But franchise quarterbacks. Big Ben and Russell Wilson. We talked about earlier. Tom Brady. There's different categories of there's elite, and then there's franchise quarterbacks, and then there's just your starting quarterbacks, and I think he falls kind of in the just a starting quarterback role.
Okay. And what about Mason Rudolph? Have you seen anything from Mason Rudolph in the last 2 seasons that makes you think that, okay, look, he's not an elite quarterback. He's not Patrick Mahomes. And maybe he's not a franchise quarterback. He's not Ben Roethlisberger. But do you see him as a starting quarterback in the NFL? Maybe not for the Steelers necessarily, but, for a team that's looking for a quarterback. Do you think that Mason Rudolph could be a starting quarterback?
If he plays like he did, he played very well last week. He had almost 300 yards passing, a couple touchdowns.
Against the Browns team, by the way, that's fighting for playoffs. If they lost last week against the Steelers, they would not have won the playoff. They would not have won their playoff position. They would have lost out in the playoffs. So I think that Browns defense was giving it their all, which. You say what you want to say about the Browns defense and their team in general about how bad they are. But I think that, Mason proved that he gave I think that was the best of Mason Rudolph last week. And it still wasn't the best, it wasn't good enough to beat the Browns. So I don't know. He scored enough points.
Rudolph is a journeyman.
You see him as like a, as like
Jimmy G.
A Jimmy G,
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Patrick, that's the name I was looking for.
That's exactly how I see him. He's not like, if you give him a chance, you give him a decent line, you give him half decent receivers, he'll be able to do some stuff, but I don't see him being a franchise quarterback. I mean,
he's not taking him to the playoffs every year.
No. But I could see Baker Mayfield. I could see him being a franchise QB for the Browns. Who have the Browns had in the past 10 even 15 or even 20 years, it was a very notable quarterback. I mean, yeah, you can say Johnny Manziel. As soon as Johnny Manziel came in the league, what did he do?
Right. And I think, so a quick Johnny Manziel tangent, because I really like Johnny Manziel. And actually, quickly, before I get into that, shout out to Moab Chad for making me redeem Hydrate. What a man. He's going to be a future guest of this show. You hear that, Chad? You're going to get on here. But so
anime talk ready.
I swear, which I love anime. Well, not every anime, but I do enjoy Attack on Titan and a few other shows. But back to Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was a quarterback who was not given a fair chance at the NFL level. So one, he was brought into a Browns team in the middle of finding themselves. The Browns didn't know who they were when they drafted Baker Mayfield. And two, in the NFL, or in college, Baker Mayfield was a great quarterback because he was playing against, lesser athletes. He was playing against future tax accountants. He was playing against, future car salesmen. He wasn't playing against NFL talent. And so I think if the Browns would have drafted, or any team would have drafted Baker Mayfield where he should have been drafted in the 5th or 6th round, I think that Baker Mayfield could have developed into a very good backup quarterback. But the fact that they drafted him first overall, I think just really killed his whole career because, when you get drafted first overall, it puts this extra pressure on you. It puts you in the same league as Patrick Mahomes or, in this upcoming draft, what's his name? Justin.
Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, And I heard, Trevor Lawrence released a video where he talked about leaving Clemson, and he talked about how I want to be remembered for how I was as a person. He was saying all the right things. You could clearly tell that, a lot of thought was put into, what he was saying, but he was saying all the right things. And whenever Johnny Manziel left Texas A&M, he was not saying all the right things. He was saying all the wrong things that, he was more interested in becoming famous than he was in becoming a good NFL quarterback, where if he was drafted 6th overall or in the 6th round, no one would have cared about Johnny Manziel. He would have to earn his fame. He would have to earn the space that he takes up. And I think that a lot can be said for Tom Brady being drafted as late as he was, because that gave Tom Brady the drive to prove people that, look, I am better than 6th round. I'm better than this late round talent. I am better than that. And I think it gave him the drive to win at least his first 2 Super Bowls. After that, that's another level. That's Michael Jordan. That's Tiger Woods. It's a whole different level. But the first 2, I think, for Tom Brady were really driven by the fact that he was drafted as late as he was. And I think that obviously Baker Mayfield, I don't think could have won as maybe even 1 Super Bowl, but he could have been a very serviceable backup if he was treated the way he was supposed to be treated, as a 6th round talent. And going back to Baker Mayfield, I think that he gives the Browns a chance to win games, but I feel like he's a Ryan Tannehill type, where that as the team goes, he goes. It's not like you look at Ben Roethlisberger. If Ben Roethlisberger comes out and he plays bad, then the team's going to lose. Whereas with the Titans, if Tannehill plays okay, it doesn't really matter because the rest of the team's going to pick him up. So I think with the Browns and Baker Mayfield, I feel that the rest of the team has to be great in order for Baker Mayfield to perform at the level that he needs to. Any other closing thoughts on the NFL, ladies and gentlemen? Anything else you guys wanted to say? Any teams you wanted to talk about? Any players?
I know DB said it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Bills Mafia, man.
Oh, Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. I love Bills Mafia. It is my second favorite fan base besides Steeler Nation. I don't know. I hate New England Patriot fans. I'm sorry if you're a Patriots fan and I'm flaming you, but I absolutely hate New England Patriots fans. But Bills Mafia, dude, look, if the Steelers can't win the Super Bowl this year, I hope Bills Mafia does. Because gosh darn it, if I don't love some Bills Mafia, throwing people through tables, God, I just love that energy. I love that energy of Bills Mafia.
What got me liking the Bills, I won't lie, was the fact that just watching them just beat the hell out of Belichick and Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I knew after how many years of getting beaten down by the Patriots,
oh yeah,
it was their time to just beat the shit out of the Patriots, and I loved every second of it, man.
What? Ryan, what division is that? What division is the Raven or the Patriots in? NFC East. So every team in the NFC East, man, I am so happy for them that Cam Newton sucks and Belichick can't coach anymore, because like you said, DB, like the Miami Dolphins just to get to spit all over the Patriots. The Bills getting to spit all over Belichick. It just feels good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
It's
feels
just
good.
like I could just feel like if I was a Bills fan, like how happy I would have been just to watch like Josh Allen just tear into them.
Yep.
Because like I was even like happy as hell.
Dude,
Certainly.
The worst part is that
Mhm.
was a backup quarterback that put up 52 on him.
The backup did. I didn't know that. The backup did.
Well, if that's a Week 17 game, they put up like 54 points or something.
Right. You have to
That
put
was-
him
Allen
back
was
up.
in for like 2 to 3 quarters, and then they took him out. But like
He was in for the first half,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then Matt Barkley came in and put up like 4 touchdowns on them.
dude, they couldn't do nothing wrong.
Brutal.
Yep.
That's brutal.
Literally, guys were getting, and if they would have had more like they had like 2 dropped balls in the end zone, and they were literally wide open. Like it was embarrassing, but it was also not embarrassing. It was really happy moment for me just to watch the Patriots get their ass beat.
For sure. I predict you will lose your voice soon. Tabdecat saying I will lose my voice. Tabdecat, is that a sub? Did you sub to me, Tabdecat? I appreciate that. I don't know. I appreciate that. I really do.
Take a nice drink for Tabata Cat.
Honestly. So moving on. I just subbed. Thank you, Tabdecat. I didn't get a notification that you subbed, but thank you so much for subbing. That means so much for me. Quick plug for my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/tapper74. You guys want to come watch me play games or stream or whatever. I'm getting my, my mojo back, my schedule back after starting my new job. So I really appreciate Tabdecat subbing. I appreciate that so much. That means so much to me. Let's move on from NFL talk and move into NHL talk. Ladies and gentlemen, the NHL is back. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been doing inter-squad scrimmages, and I have been watching them all, and I have been loving what I am seeing. The speed that
Like the Nasty Hose League?
yes. What is it? You got the Honda division. You got the Mass Mutual division. You got the Discover card division, and there's one more I'm forgetting. Oh, the Scotia division. The Canadian division is called Scotia.
Okay.
But so Melvin, I want to talk to you real fast because you and me, we played hockey growing up. I know Ryan, you played some hockey too, and DB, we've gotten you out on skates. We haven't got you into.
Wait, are you trying to talk to Melvin?
Yeah.
He is not here at the moment. Give
R.I.P.
it like 30
Okay.
seconds, and he'll
That's
be
fair.
back.
That's fair. He can join in the conversation here in a second. But so DB, I know you're a fan of hockey. You're actually named for a hockey player, Darius Kasparaitis. Shout out to Darius Kasparaitis. And Ryan, I know you play
It's
hockey
true.
too. How do you feel about ads being sold onto the helmets of players? How do you feel about that?
It's dumb. I mean, I don't know.
The race car drivers have their cars.
Yeah, but who looks at the race car drivers' helmets?
Well, no. But they're cars. Their cars are covered head from bumper to bumper in ads.
I'll be honest.
Uniform.
Anytime that I've watched racing, I've never once noticed the ads on their car. Maybe
Okay.
it's like a little subconscious thing, but
Mhm.
like I also am not a NASCAR fan, but I think that's the dumbest thing ever. I don't think there needs to be ads on players' helmets.
What about so consider this, DB, with the NHL, the amount of ads, like the amount of revenue that comes in from ticket sales, you're now losing that because no
Yeah.
one is allowed to enter into the building. So how else are you supposed to be able, like the
Yeah.
salary cap is $81 million. How are you supposed to generate $81 million if no fans show up to games? What else would you do?
No, I guess you're right. I didn't think about it like that. Like, if you actually like break down into it, like having that many games and having to pay that much money to like however many people, it is a lot of money. And like even if you look on like the arenas, like how many, like I know one like very notable one that I always see when they're playing is American Eagle,
Mhm.
at least PPG Arena.
Mhm.
You look around, like it's just covered like all around with ads and stuff. So like I mean. As long as it's, and I don't know, if players are getting paid more, we had this discussion last night,
Mhm.
but like if players are getting paid more, because I'm not crazy enough to jump in front of a puck, and there are some people there, and I think they should be paid a lot of money to do that.
NHL players do get paid very low compared to other like baseball players.
Yeah.
Like that's the only sport where you can be like chubby and still like be a decent player.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And
Or like Phil Kessel eating hot dogs. I mean,
He's a black sheep in hockey. You know
Swear.
what I mean? Like nobody does work out in the off season like it.
certainly,
It's unheard of in the NHL.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to Sir Knight for subscribing to me, man. What a man. I appreciate that. And Tabbycat, that was your 2-month sub anniversary, and I appreciate that so much. I love you guys showing me love in chat. I appreciate that so much, guys. You don't understand what that means to me. I appreciate it so much. So, Melvin, as I was saying earlier, you and me, we both played hockey growing up. Are you a hockey purist that says, look, teams should not have ads on their jerseys, teams should not have ads on their helmet? Or are you the kind of guy that says, look, make as much money as you possibly can,
I
sell
don't know. I
everything,
mean,
sell
There
the
has to be a line. And honestly, on the jerseys, I don't really like on the jerseys.
So are you saying that you would avoid buying like a Penguins jersey if it had like a UPMC logo on it?
I mean, it does add in that extra layer too of like, if this company is going to be literally that attached to my team, you know what I mean? Like, can I support my team if they're supported by certain companies and things like that? It brings in the ethical question. I don't know. Helmets I'm fine with. Jerseys I honestly wouldn't really like to see.
I agree with that. So if you look at other hockey leagues around the world, you look at Japan and Korea and like Germany and Sweden, they have logos head to toes, but I've never thought, man, I would love to have one of those jerseys with all those logos over it. I understand like the Nike logo because that's who makes the jersey. I understand like obviously the Penguins logo or any team, any franchise, that's a company too, their logo's on there. But with I don't want to buy a jersey that's covered head to toe in advertisements. I don't feel comfortable walking around as a walking advertisement. I don't like buying clothing that has logos on it that I don't agree with. If I don't like,
I don't want to be the Abercrombie and Fitch Penguin.
Absolutely. And that's how I feel. It's like I'm a huge Barstool Sports supporter. Sir Knight, I love that badge next to your name, by the way, that Tappers logo. I love it. I'm a huge Barstool supporter. I have a Barstool flag behind my podcast. I wear Barstool's merch all the time, but that's because I support Barstool. I want people to look at me and go, hey, look, that's the guy who likes Barstool. I want other Stoolies out there, whenever they see me wearing their clothing, to go, hey, I like that guy. I want to talk to him. I want to talk, Barstool Sports with him, but I don't want to wear, like you said, like Abercrombie and Fitch or like, American Eagle. If I don't support their business practices, I don't want to represent their logos on my body. And like, yeah. I have a Sidney Crosby jersey. I want it to be Sidney Crosby's jersey, not Sidney Crosby brought to you by, but Anheuser-Busch, UPMC, whatever other logos they put on there. I don't want it to be, I want it to just be his logo.
But I think that option would be like available to you. And like, here's another thing. I think if you're
Do
like
you
a
think?
collector, say like, if you're picking up like almost every other Sidney Crosby jersey, and then like this one comes around and is only going to be like a one or until coronavirus pandemic's over, however long kind of thing, and you're just a collector of some sort, I think it would be a cool collector's item just to like remember like, hey, this was back when sports had to like really like limit
itself.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Do you think it works like that? Like that after the coronavirus splits, that the Penguins and other teams,
money starts coming in, how do you look away from it?
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's gonna be like that.
I don't know. I'm also the type of person. I had my Malkin jersey, I think for almost like 7 years now. It maybe even more. I think I was like 14 or 15 when I got my Malkin jersey, and I still would wear that jersey. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's hard unless you find a player you like to buy their jersey.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. I just personally, I feel like you buy a jersey and you have it for almost a lifetime, or until you grow out of it. But like, hockey jerseys are always bigger.
Certainly. Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, dog.
What's your opinion on this? What's your take on one, the helmets, on ads on the helmets, and then two, what if they put ads on the back of the jerseys or the front of the jerseys? What do you think about that? Would you still buy a Penguins jersey if it had extra logos on it?
Well, I'm gonna do my favorite thing here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Getting both sides.
So one NHL owner, I think it was for the Rangers or something.
Big market
He
team.
came out and said, you know, they asked him how he felt about the logos on the helmets, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, basically said along the lines of, we have stadium workers to pay, we have staff to pay, we have, you know, other expenses to pay as far as travel and stuff. And like you said, with no fans in the arenas, you know, you kind of have to generate revenue any way you can. And I think, and this is another thing, and I'll throw it in here, this is something that I'm, you know, open to rebuttal to, but
Absolutely.
I don't think the merchandise, so like the jerseys that you or I or Darius or Melvin or Kayla would buy, I don't think they would necessarily have the logos on it, like the branding, right? Because they're not paying, you pay for the merchandise, right?
Yeah.
And even, you know, some of the Russian leagues and stuff, you know, they have the logos on the jerseys, like when they're playing. But when you buy them, because the logos change, the merchandise you could buy doesn't have the same branding on it.
You're right. I didn't think of that. So I
didn't think about that either.
What a businessman.
Right. So I would have to see the contract, you know, that's signed between teams that put their logos, and it's not official that they're putting logos on jerseys next, but I mean, that's got to be the next step, right? We put them on the helmets, we get them on the jerseys. It's going to happen eventually.
Why don't you put them on the pants like how UFC
Exactly.
did for the
Exactly.
longest time?
Yeah, no, they're going to, you know, I think head to toe from because the skates are an ad. You know, the stick is an ad. The gloves have an ad. You look at Bauer gloves. There's a giant Bauer written on the wrist of the gloves. Even my gloves in the basement right now from whenever I played hockey, they have logos on it. You know, everything is technically a logo. You know what I mean? Everything is you know.
I don't think you would see. I think you would just see it on the helmet, shorts, and jerseys. But like the helmet and jerseys are more likely. I don't know about the shorts. I don't think you'd see it on the gloves or the socks.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I think that, you know, I'm a big advocate for NHL players making more money. You know, they deserve to get paid more money, but the fact that in the majority of cities, you know, NHL is the third market behind baseball, behind the NFL, and in some cases behind basketball. You know, you look at a city like Boston, right? The Bruins are a big organization there, but I don't know if they're necessarily bigger than the Patriots. You know, I don't know if they're bigger than the Red Sox. Exactly. You know, and you know, past success.
It would be hard to argue that they were. Certainly,
I think you would have to decide on when was their last championship. You know, who's in the playoffs at that moment, because that decides who's bigger. But still, you know, NHL teams are not. It's not as watched sport as other franchises, and so I want them to get paid more money. I don't know how that's possible without selling ad revenue or, you know, ad space on jerseys and helmets. I just don't see how that's possible. But I'm glad that, you know, I feel like a guy like Don Cherry. If you don't know who Don Cherry is, he was the leader of Hockey Night in Canada for a very long time. If you don't know what Hockey Night in Canada is, it's like church. You know,
you don't know NHL.
Yeah, everybody in Canada goes and watches Hockey Night in Canada, watches Don Cherry. He got fired actually recently, but yeah, he has the best suits. But he is the voice of Canada hockey. You know, he is the voice, and so he would be a guy who is very against this. You know, he would be hockey is a pure sport. Hockey, you know, you don't need to be selling ads and whatnot, But I am in the, you know, if right now nameless company wanted to give me money for this podcast, I would 100% do that. You want me to post your logo all over the place? I'll do it because you're paying me. And I just have that, you know.
Money talks.
Exactly. And if at the end of the day it's better for the players, then it's okay with me, in my personal opinion.
Well, and I have a question about this now, because I'm a little bit clueless in this department. What if, say, McDonald's was on Sidney Crosby's jersey, and McDonald's jersey, you know, was sold to a customer? Say I bought it. Would a commission of that jersey sale because it is a sponsored product, would that just as if like I don't know if this is reality or not, but do they get commissions off of their own products? So in the long term, if you would look at that jersey and say, oh, you know, I don't really care for the McDonald's logo on there, but you know, it's supporting Sidney Crosby, he's getting a little commission out of this, perhaps. Is that a thing or no?
I believe, and I didn't realize this until Ryan kind of said it, that whenever it comes to these jersey sales, so like, you know, at the beginning of the season, right, McDonald's will go, or the Penguins will go to McDonald's and say, hey, we have an opening on our jersey, you know, at the shoulder. We're offering this ad space for $1 million, right? So you pay us $1 million, and then we'll put the McDonald's logo on the shoulder of the Penguins jersey. And then anytime a Penguins player his picture is taken in his jersey, there's a chance you can see the McDonald's logo. If you know, in when you watch a game, you're gonna see the Penguins, you know, the McDonald's logo right next to the Penguins level. But whenever you buy the jersey from like the team store, that McDonald's logo's not gonna be there, right? So like the contract with McDonald's does not include fan jerseys, just team jerseys. So it wouldn't be like that, but I you know, and it would depend on the negotiation contract. So like, you know, McDonald's might come back to the Penguins and say, hey, you know, we agree with the $1 million for jersey, you know, for the ad space on the thing, but we want our logo, the McDonald's logo, to be on, you know, fan jerseys, and we want 10% of every jersey sale that you make. Which again, I don't think that would happen because the Penguins would never agree to that. You know, they would say that, look, fan jerseys aren't going to have the logo on it. But if they did, I think that would happen. So, like, Nike, for instance, is on the majority of Penguins logos. If you buy a legitimate Penguins logo from the store, I'm pretty sure that the Nike logo is there. But it's different.
But isn't that different because they produce it, right?
Yes, exactly. Whereas
and McDonald's wouldn't have produced the jersey.
They just make the greasy hamburgers that the hockey players don't eat.
Exactly.
If I could interject,
Hold on one sec. Ryan, you go.
I was just gonna say, the jerseys themselves are regulated by the NHL league. So any advertisements or anything, like Adidas currently is the uniform provider, or the jersey provider for the NHL.
Fuck you, Nike.
Every team has Adidas jerseys. If you go to the NHL shop, sorry, no free advertisements.
No free ads, but still, you know.
If you were to go online and try and buy an official jersey for Pittsburgh Penguins right now, it would be an Adidas jersey.
Okay.
For the most current version.
Okay.
So the NHL and Adidas have it. So the McDonald's would actually have to work, in this case, would have to work a deal out with the NHL themselves to say, hey, if we put our logo on the Penguins jersey, we want like 2% of every Penguins jersey sold through your shop.
Okay.
So that's
so it would be with the NHL, not with the organization itself.
Right.
Okay.
Because the organization, even the ones that are sold in the arena, they have to make a checkout or pay money to the NHL themselves.
Okay.
For basically allowing them to sell these jerseys. Now jerseys and stuff, you know, shirt jerseys, that's a different story. But because technically the Penguins trademark is partially owned by the NHL. League.
Okay, so basically, instead of the Penguins going to McDonald's, it would be the NHL going to McDonald's, and then the NHL would go to the Penguins and say, here is 30% of the money that McDonald's gave us. You're putting this logo on your jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I thought that the teams had more control over that, but it makes sense that they don't.
Everything but the jerseys, they have more control over. So the helmets, because like you said, like Bauer, CCM, those companies,
sponsorship deals.
Yeah, they basically forfeit all of their sponsorship rights and their ownership rights because the players are already their sponsors.
Right.
So they give them this equipment, and you know, I see Sidney Crosby using the CCM stick. I want to go buy that. Whereas like you know, the equipment itself, other than the jerseys, basically are free games. So like PPG Paints is going to be the helmet sponsor for the Penguins.
Right.
That's also conveniently who sponsors and who has money into the arena.
Right. Now.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing there.
Now with in reference to that, so like at the start of if you watch any NHL game, any MLB game, any game at all that's brought to you by a major sports organization, it'll say this game is presented by the official sponsor, the official truck dealership of the NFL, Ford or whatever. And then with like there'll be like specific ones, the official, healthcare provider of the Pirates. So does that also go through the commission, or does that specifically go to the team, the official whatever of the team versus the official whatever of, like, right now Pink Whitney New Amsterdam vodka is the official vodka of the NHL. Now if there's not a sponsorship, but if there's another, so like I said, the difference between the official provider of the NHL versus the official provider of the team, is that different or is it all the same?
Yeah, actually, it's basically the same idea, and like an actual prime example of it is Honda, and the Ridgeline is the official truck of the NHL.
Okay.
Okay. The Dodge Ram is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the NHL basically gets their payments from Honda, and then Dodge gives gets their sponsorship money to the Penguins.
Okay.
And in return, the Penguins put ads in the arena, put ads on their televised stuff, like AT&T Sports Network. They have to play Dodge Ram ads,
right?
And then they'll follow that up with a Honda Ridgeline ad to kind of balance it out,
right? And the over Penguin broadcast, Dodge would get no free ads, but Dodge would get the marquee positioning, at the very start of the, at the end of the period, as soon as we cut the commercial, we're going to a Dodge ad. And then, like you said, right after that, it'd be a Honda ad because Dodge has preferential treatment over Penguins broadcasts. But then you said Honda has to balance it out. They have to do that balancing act between both. That makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I'm all for whatever helps the players get bigger contracts. Whatever helps them make more money, I'm okay with. So if it's ads on jerseys, I'm okay with that. If it's ads on pants, I'm okay with that. And like, look, since hockey has begun, they've sold ads on the boards. You know what I mean? Like all NHL arenas are advertisements. You know what I mean? Like, you look at center ice and there's like 6 different logos around center ice, not even to mention around the board. So I think that, it's one of those things that, like I said, it's nothing new. Advertisements are nothing new. Advertisements being sold on jerseys outside of American markets is nothing new. And like I said, whatever makes the players more money at the end of the day, I'm okay with. So we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here, ladies and gentlemen. We got about 20 minutes left. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about specifically while I got you here on the show, on the Danger Boys podcast? Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about? Ryan, I'll start with you. Anything you wanted to bring up? And I mean in reference to anything you could possibly talk about, you want to talk about right now?
I just, I think the biggest thing to me is I'll just say that, sports are, kind of been a saving grace of this year, I think, for a lot of people.
Certainly. It adds a sense of normality to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, even touching on the end of this ad topic here, that's what's going to pay to keep the lights on and keep the arenas open and all that kind of stuff. So, I just, sports are, sports luckily are kind of continuing on as normal and starting to get back to normality. And I just kind of hope that's the same way with everything. And
certainly, and just touching on that real fast before I throw it to Darius to see what he wants to talk about. With at the end of every game, the players shake hands. Phillip Rivers, I heard it today. He shook one of the hands of the Buffalo Bills. He said, "Go win." There's at people competing head to head at the highest level the most fiercest competition, they're still able to shake each other's hands and say, hey, good game, man. Go out there, good luck. And I just think that means a lot to a lot of people right now who, like you said, with this crazy world we're living in, to give that sense of normality. Phantom Painkiller just subscribed for 5 months in a row. Phantom Painkiller, thank you so much, my man. 5 months. Gosh darn it, that's...
The man, the myth, the legend. Everybody take a drink for that man.
I swear. Take a drink for Phantom Painkiller, one of the
Cheers.
best people I've met on Twitch. DB, anything you wanted to add while you're here on the Danger Boys podcast? Anything you wanted to talk about?
First off, this isn't a sponsorship. I'm just going to tell you, PPG Arena has some of the best nachos. They put pulled pork on it. Best nachos ever.
Oh, man, I love
that. It's been on
that.
my mind. I don't know why, but I wanted to tell you about that.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the best nachos you can get in the city of Pittsburgh.
Whenever I get nachos...
Not an ad,
no,
but
you're right. That ground beef, man, it's so overdone. When you get that pulled pork on there, oh my gosh, it's delicious. It's just like, thank you so much for giving me this beautiful gift of pulled pork. Yeah, absolutely, Phantom. Thank you, man. No, bro, it's a give and a give. You know what I mean?
You might not know if you need it, but you need it in your life.
Absolutely.
And when you have the first bite of it, it's what you need in your life. Actually, Cap, you need to get some sponsorships because I can plug in some sponsorships once we get them in here.
Absolutely. We'll
talk good about them.
we'll get to that. Once we hopefully I can keep consistent with this Danger Boys podcast. And I'm glad I was able to have you guys on. Like I said, this was such a great conversation. I love this so much. We'll definitely get into the whole the ad conversation. We'll get into that eventually. Is Kayla there?
Yes.
Kayla,
Hi,
anything you wanted to add to the podcast? Anything you wanted to talk about? Any subject at all you wanted to bring up?
Anything in the whole wide world?
Anything in the whole wide world. If you could say anything right now to an audience of 10 million people, what would you say to them?
I gotta pick up one thing.
Hashtag Bills Mafia.
Darius, you had your chance. So hashtag Bills Mafia.
I'm still plugging that in there.
Hashtag Bills Mafia. But no, go ahead, Kayla. The floor is yours.
I guess just to bring up something that we talked about earlier, since I am the only girl that is talking on here right now, and most likely there hopefully is women out there listening, but I think it's pretty dope that the sports as the aspect of the world is moving towards accepting women. Not as just the sex toys on the sidelines that are supposed to dance and wave their arms around and wear short skirts to like entertain the football players. But I think it's awesome that there's two women's coaches, right? Not lead coaches, but on both sides, on both teams. And two teams right now are going to be playing.
They lost.
They lost. But
Washington lost.
But
31-23,
but I guess like the point, and not trying to sound like super feminist.
No, please give your perspective. That's why I'm having you on here, Kayla. I love that feminist perspective. It's a perspective that I don't have, and I love hearing it from you. Please continue.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just dope that like one day, when I have children down the line that or we all do that, if we have a little girl, it's nice that our world's not so closed anymore as women, that we don't have to be, I work as a hairstylist part-time. We don't have to be a hairstylist. That even if I have, a little boy someday, he can be a hairstylist. But like, we're not limited to sports as much. We still are. Don't get me wrong. And I know there's women out there that do play sports and they do very well at it. But I guess the point I'm trying to get across is the acceptance and hopefully get to a better place with equality in as far as women in the sports field go. I mean, like I said, from what I've seen from sports, I've seen cheerleaders. I've seen some women's talk hosts that, you could tell that they are still, doing their jobs from what men want. No offense to guys.
No, absolutely. Call it as you see it. Kayla.
I mean, yeah, I think it's dope. Like, I think the future shouldn't go, like, all women or anything. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But, like, let's get closer to equal opportunities. I can understand some things may not ever be 50-50, men and women. But, encourage women that do have these dreams and do follow these sports as seriously as they do, that they have an opportunity if they want to seek it out, that they can can do that with their life. I think that's cool.
Absolutely. And you know, it says a lot that, so this season, this football season was the first game that a woman, a female, kicked off for a Division I college team. You know, and I think that says a lot that look, you know, women can do it. And look, was her leg as strong as a man's? I don't want to get into that debate, but she did it. You know what I mean? She was out there on the field. She had pads on, she had a helmet on, and she kicked off. That is huge. And same thing with the NFL, like you were saying with coaches, also refs. You know, we're seeing more and more female refs in games. And what, you're going to tell me that a woman's eyes aren't as fast as a man's, or they don't know the rules of football? What the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? There's just as many smart women out there as smart men, if not more smart women. And to see that in sports, and I know hockey is probably the most progressive when it comes to women playing the sport, because with hockey, it's a game of more finesse than it is physical. So like back in the 90s, you know, hockey was punch each other in the face, hit each other as hard as you possibly can. You know, it's a very physical game, but now it's become a much more skill game, much more passing and finesse. And hockey is such a small market that it's so hard to get a women's hockey league off the ground to where like the WNBA is. But I want to see that in the future, and I want to see a women's football league, but not just the lingerie league where you got girls out there in thongs and, you know, with their
over-sexualized for guys sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
But also, I like to say shout out to the NFL. Raise your beer right now and take a drink to the NFL for allowing girls. Also, to the Danger Boys podcast for allowing its first, well, I mean, not necessarily allowing, but inviting its first female guest on.
Absolutely.
And it's only the second episode.
Its first female on.
Absolutely.
So,
and it is.
Better wording the second
Absolutely.
time.
And I want to let you guys know, Kayla, Darius, Melvin, everybody, you know, but Kayla, I want you guys back on this podcast. You know what I mean? I love hearing your guys' perspective, and especially Kayla, like you said, I know this has been a very male-dominated conversation. There's 4 of us and only 1 of you, but at the same time, though, your perspective does mean something. Your voice is being heard, and I know there's a lot of people out there right now who hear your voice and go, yes, you're saying what I'm thinking. You are helping me believe that we can make this world a better place together. And so, like I said, I just want to thank you for being on. And, you know, and there's this...
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time anyone's wanted to listen to me talk online. This is pretty dope. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool discussion all around, and I do enjoy listening to the football stuff just because I can't contribute as much to the conversation. But, you know, there's a lot of cool things I see going on. And I'm not saying, you know, women need to have as many more leagues than the men, or they need a higher priority, or we need to do like what colleges do, for instance, is we need to incorporate 12% of women, or, you know,
right.
I guess it's not a fair percentage, but you know what I mean. I don't want it to be a requirement. I just want the chance that everyone can have that opportunity.
Certainly.
Also, shout out to the San Antonio Spurs, who actually had the first woman acting as the active head coach in an actual NBA game.
Hell yeah.
That is so dope, Brian.
Absolutely.
After Greg Popovich got thrown out, they had their assistant coach, who's a female. She was the acting head coach for a couple quarters of an NBA game. So shout out to them, huh?
And quick shout out to Tabdacat. She's a woman, and she says, I have experienced, seen, and heard gender inequality. Or wait, I have experienced, or you have not? I'm not too sure.
I personally haven't experienced it with sports, but with jobs, with you know, situations out in public, with a lot of different scenarios. And it's not to say that men are the bad sex. There is no bad sex. We're both. We don't get to pick what we are. We're born into what we have. And I don't think that means our minds have to think I'm a female, so I'm a female. No, like heck, if I was really good at you know, playing NHL or watching it, and I wasn't necessarily wanted to be a player, but just knowing the fact that I could go out one day and decide I'm going to be the best hockey player out there is, like the fact that I can do it. And like, you know, women, we didn't start even having the right to vote till the
the
past
last 100
100
years.
years. Yeah. So
Certainly.
moving more towards this pace of it, it's starting to pick up and it's becoming much faster in the past 20 compared to the past 100. That's great, you know.
Certainly.
And I want to see it. I want to see it happening. Like I said, I'm not requirement. Not
Right.
You know, let's have 50% of girls and guys. But the women that want to do it, just like men that want to cut hair, like I do.
Right.
I encourage that. And
Absolutely.
you know what? In the long run, the men that I've worked with in the salon do just as well, if not better, than the women. And I think it goes both ways, not just with sports, but you know, men being stay-at-home dads, men working as caretakers, men working as hairstylists. Like,
Certainly.
I want everyone to be able to express what they want to do, no
Certainly.
matter what it is, and be accepted.
Remove the stigma of that. If you're a man, you have to be this certain way and only this certain way. And if you're not this way as a man, then you're wrong. As a girl or a woman or a female, you have to be this certain way. And if you're not this certain way, then you're wrong. And that is messed up. Quickly here, Phantom Painkiller got the first MLB coach minor league. That's freaking go. Forgot her name, but I'm terrible. Hey, look, you know, and that's the thing that Kayla's talking about, is that this is, you know, we're at the stepping stone, we're at the cusp of creating these innovations where that women and men are having fair and equal opportunities. Like you're saying, Kayla, not because you have to, but because that woman is the best person for the job and no one else can do it better. That's why she has that job. But that's also the reason why why a woman didn't get that job. It's not because she's not a man, but because, you know, she wasn't the best person for that job, you know, not to you know, stigmatize. And I think that, Kayla, we could have a whole podcast dedicated to women's rights. And I want to do that. I want to I have another friend of mine, great friend of mine, Taylor, who's
let's pick Taylor one of these days.
And I want to get you two on here, and I want to get the female perspective on just life. You know, I want you guys to, you know, explain to where, you know, like situations that you're uncomfortable with, like in stores. I know my sister-in-law, she was telling me this, like she feels uncomfortable sometimes in like Walmart, you know, where she's walking around and she goes, okay, I'm creeped out right now, and she doesn't feel safe, like I said. But I want to make sure that we can give the full attention to that. I want to make sure that we can, you know, go in deep and actually have a real discussion about it, not just a quick, you know, 10-minute, 5-minute segment at the end of a podcast. So I want to, you know, get into that a little bit later. You know, like I said, I want to go into a full episode about that. Sir Knife says, I'm definitely not a man who goes with gender norms. I'm probably the only dude here who wears a dress. Sir Knife, that is wonderful that you are able to feel comfortable in your own skin, to like, look, I'm a guy who likes to wear dresses. I'm a guy who, you know, feels more comfortable with makeup on my face. And that is wonderful that you can say that, you know, comfortably and confidently, and to say that, look, not everyone is built the same and everyone has the right to live as happy as they possibly can. And I love to see that. One gender rule is, I want gone as men can't wear dresses because of stupid men. Absolutely. Clothing is freaking arbitrary, man. Wearing a dress, wearing makeup, wearing pants, it's so arbitrary. It's so gross. It's disgusting. And like, just get rid of all these gender norms. You know what I mean? Get rid of gender norms. Because it's wrong. It's wrong and it's stupid. It was a marketing idea. You know, pink used to be a boy's color and blue was a girl's color, and then they flipped it. You know, it's Hasbro and all the big companies that try to create these marketing schemes for how we're going to sell the most fucking shit to kids. It's fucked up. But again, this is a discussion for the next podcast, which I'm definitely going to hold on to and we're definitely going to have in the future. But we got to wrap this show up here. Melvin, you there, bud?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you wanted to bring to this podcast? Anything at all in the whole wide world you wanted to talk about here? The floor is yours. What do you got?
Oh, no, I think we covered a lot of interesting topics today.
How would you rate this podcast experience? Would you say it's a positive experience?
Oh, definitely. I would say it's definitely a positive experience.
Yeah. Did you enjoy having this conversation with us? Would you do this again?
I did. I'm coming back on.
Hell yeah, you are.
You have me. I'm coming back on.
Damn Skippy, you are. Damn Skippy. And like I said, and this invite extends to Phantom Painkiller, to Moab Chad, to everyone out there who wants to talk. I value all of your opinions. I want to hear all your opinions. I want to hear your world perspective, because that makes all of our perspectives better, and that makes us better human beings all around. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. For Sir Knight, Tabdacat, Phantom Painkiller, Moab Chat, everyone who's been in the chat, saying what's up, talking to us, getting in on the conversation too, hearing your voices, because your voices matter too, just as much as the rest of us. I want to thank you guys for being here. Ryan, I want to appreciate you, man. I asked you to be on at 10:25, and you were there, man. You were popped in there real quick. Yo, let's get this podcast. Let's kill it. Let's knock it out the park, and we freaking did. DB, Kayla, and Melvin, I know you guys had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad that you didn't give up. You didn't just say, we missed our chance, we're just going to give up. No, you hopped in the Discord call. You said, look, we're going to chat. We're going to get this conversation done, and I appreciate you guys holding it out for me. And
persistence is key, young ones. Persistence is key.
Absolutely.
To say that you are really good at whatever it is called that you're doing.
Commentating.
So he's a host.
Yeah.
He's hosting.
But that's like really a good talent of yours. Like I think I don't podcast, but I think you're a great podcaster.
Oh, thank you. I wish you could see my face right now when you watch this back on the YouTube page, youtube.com/dangerboyspodcast. You'll see the giant smile that you put on my face, Kayla, for saying that I'm a wonderful host. I appreciate that so much. And sadly, I want to continue. Tabdacat, I wish I could continue too. I wish I could sit here in front of this microphone with these wonderful, beautiful people and talk for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, I can't because I have to go to bed. Tabdacat can absolutely come on this podcast. Absolutely, Tabdacat.
Why do you have to go to bed?
Because I'm tired, and unlike other people that I know, I actually have a job. Ooh, Fire Flame Spitter. Fire Flame Spitter. Gotta.
That was a low ball.
low blow. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I love you all, and yeah, so that's the end of the podcast. Wrap it up. I don't know exactly how to do intros, so I'm just gonna sit here awkwardly for 2 seconds, and then I'm gonna hit the end.
I'm gonna applaud you like on Dr. Phil Tap. Yay!
Yay! Yay! No, okay, but hey, guys, and again, follow me on Twitter, Twitter/Tapper74. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Tapper74, and then youtube.com/DangerBoysPodcast. Red, damn it, Red. Okay, look, Red. We're gonna put this up on the YouTube channel, so you're gonna see the whole conversation. And I promise, dude, the next podcast, whenever we do it, I'm not gonna give a time frame because I have no idea when the hell it's gonna be. But whenever it's there, I'm gonna make sure that you're there, Red. But yeah, guys, peace out. Take it easy. I love you all. Danger Boys Podcast. Go subscribe on YouTube. Namaste.